right.
Did that work?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, oneness. All right, so let's kick off this discussion. I was going to ask you guys, does everybody have a general idea of what oneness is? I mean, in a nutshell, it's we are one with everything, everyone. Now, the next question is there anyone who actually feels that? Because I know I don't.
Brief
Yulia?
Yes,
Sometimes.
yeah. For me, it was amazing experience. I was feeling it about 2 weeks after Joshua retreat. It was physical. And for me, it's just a great lesson. I can reach this level again. For now, it's still just a concept, but I was in a point in my life when I was feeling it like with you guys. I was feeling it.
I would say yes, I do, but not all the time. But I see all the connections with people that I have, and I think the thing that brought me to it was like, I'm really connected to nature, and but I just feel like I can put myself in everybody's shoes, and that really kind of makes me understand oneness more. Just like today, Lori sent me a message and it was a sound recording, and I've listened to similar things before, but I was actually working on something yesterday about the brain and activating different areas of the brain. So it was just, like now when I get a message from someone, I pretend that it's source. It doesn't matter who it is. And I say, oh, maybe I'm really supposed to stop and take a look at this, So I will say that it took practice, though.
Yeah, it's definitely one for me where I completely get it. I understand the concept. And it comes easy with like my children, like I feel one with them, but it's my children. So when it's my husband or my employees or the cashier or what have you, those they're a little bit more difficult. Sometimes I can feel it with nature, like I can go up to a tree and touch it, and I can feel the energy and flowing and what have you. So there are a lot of times when I feel it with nature, but when it comes to people, that's my biggest block right there.
I'm going to refer to what Pam said about what Pam and actually Gary said about the book, The Law of One by the channel being raw. That is the most definitive of all the books I read, focus on the subject of oneness. The whole book, the whole book is about oneness, and it will answer questions that you didn't know you had the questions to. But once it lays it out, it takes that issue and it drills it deep in a way that it would answer questions you didn't know you had questions to, but because you didn't have the foundation to ask the question. But it's terrific. And for those of you who don't have the time to read the book, it's actually a series of books. It's from a channel being, a collective consciousness being called Raw. They're in the sixth density. And it's just like Joshua, they're a group of teachers, and they specialize, and their specialized is the topic, the Law One. There you go. And it was channeled, and there's like a series of 3 or 4 books from the channeler. But for all of you that can't get through the books because it's a lot of text, I do have a summary link of this guy who does this life on it, and he summarized it in 23 minutes. He can summarize what will take you about 4 weeks to read and study. But I gotta say, read the book. If you have the time to read the book, the book is like channeling session. It is channeling sessions, and it is focused on the topic of the Law of One. So
Yeah,
I'll try to see if I can send everyone the link in the chat.
Yes, please.
And see,
Definitely.
again, this is a 23 video version that sums up a very, very complex topic that will take you like 3 books to read.
Awesome.
So
I've listened to the Law of One, some of the
Yeah.
channelings
Mhm.
through podcast. One of the guys that I listen to is Brian Scott, and he has, he reads old books and old channeling things, and that's one of his favorite topics is the Law of One. So he'll read a channeled message, and it's very similar to things that Joshua says as far as oneness and their explanation of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who have done workshops on that book for like 7 straight
Wow.
days on that book. So this is just a 23-minute condensing of everything, but it's so packed with information that people have developed courses on that book
Is
and
it just teaching
present
the information, or is it
just teaching the
experiential?
information, just
Oh,
breaking it
wow.
down into a chart and writing it down so you can see what it said.
See, that's the thing, is that I get the intellectually, I get it. I completely get it. It's that finding that feeling, how to go deep into that feeling. And I know it's a limiting belief, because I have always been a one who, that's how I protect myself, that's yeah,
Separation.
that's yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's me trying to get to that depth of, okay, what is the limiting belief here that will allow me to be, because I also feel as if there's a level of vulnerability if I can connect with just the random Joe Schmo on the street. Like, Daryl, I love your story about when you were walking along and the homeless man, how you brought that into you, and how to have that experience. And so, yeah, I would love to get to that level to be able to say, I am you and you are me, which is crazy because I came up with that new I'm going to say it wrong. Hope and nope, but whatever it is thing.
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I have the chant. Now I just need to feel it. So,
I was going to say, regarding the one, feeling one with everyone, I've had probably maybe a little less than a handful of experiences where I'm either driving along or I'm at the grocery store somewhere that I see a lot of people, and I'll think to myself, wow, everybody's just doing their part of the one. And I'm so appreciating, I feel this heartfelt appreciation for everyone doing their whatever it is, even if it's just like a homeless person in a doorway or whatever, or the person waiting at the bus stop. And I feel like my heart just kind of like opens up, and tears always come to my eyes when I feel that way. It's like a feeling of connection and joy just kind of like flows over me. It feels really, really nice. Yeah.
it's awesome. Can you
Yeah,
teach
I mean,
What's that?
if
I said, can you teach that?
Well, I guess it kind of starts with the thoughts of appreciation for everybody. That's how I kind of get into that mindset of how, not judging, feeling neutral about everybody in an appreciating way. Yeah. So it starts with thought.
My question, the small question, I was feeling the same way on my childhood, and I always was feeling the pain of the people, and decided just block myself and go away from the other people pain. And for now, it's just the conflict, how to feel oneness and connection when you feel the pain of the people, because I have no idea how to handle the real suffering of other people, and what is it real compassion on the level when you adult and you was scary about the childhood when you was feeling the pain of other people.
Yeah, I didn't experience that as a child, but that must be difficult to like put that aside.
Yeah.
I have that times where I've thought, kind of when you're empathic, and how do you blend with other people, like you said, without taking on their pain? or being able to see it and acknowledge it, but not like internalize it. That's hard because then there's still some separation in a way. But I don't know. I'm the same way. Like sometimes, it's kind of walking that fine line of feeling connection and feeling one without taking on their vibration, maybe. Especially if you're feeling good and they're not.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened?
I think the first step is recognize that your emotional sensitivity is a gift. So even though you're a child and you weren't ready for it, it came to you, but it's a gift and a superpower that you have. But now that you've learned what you have learned, when you get that negative feeling from other people, where you should be changing your perspective is to realize that they are living their life. There's nothing bad about what's happening to them. Even if they're going to war or they're having an accident, they are doing what their soul has pre-planned in their lives. So once you recognize that and you give it, do you give those soul the respect that it deserves, that they are in control of their life? They decided for whatever their life is. When you do that, you realize it's not pain. It's only pain when you are associating a negative feeling toward them and you're thinking, oh, that's horrible, they're going through that. But if you rise your perspective to realize it's not horrible that they're going through that, it's actually beautiful because I'm respecting their souls for what their soul has incarnated to play out, and I have total respect for it. It may not be my cup of tea and it's not my life, but I am only in control with my life and what my soul has put in the path. So everything else is not your bubble. So you don't have pain for that outside. You can understand it and think that's not my cup of tea, but you don't judge it. And then if you don't judge it, then you won't have that negative onslaught come to you because you realize it's not negative, it's neutral. It's their soul has pre-planned that destiny, and you just got to respect their soul for that.
Yeah, you know what, Daryl? One of the things from the book that you recommended, Your Soul's Gift, one of the lines in there was that when you look at someone and you think, they have some sort of disability or mental illness or whatever it is, homeless person, you go, there's a really fully formed soul within that person that is helping, that is guiding that person along, that has chosen that experience, like you said. That really helps me too, that it's like, yeah, that person has a fully formed soul that is in charge of it all. So isn't that wonderful?
And what's true for a stranger is also true for your close relative. Just like you should not assign, just because they're a close relative, I know there's more emotional connection, but you should also have the same principle of no, you got to let their soul dictate what they're having. And just like a complete stranger, you got to give it the same respect and authority that their soul has predicted and had a pre-life plan for what they're going through.
But if you're seeing them as being in pain, then we might need to shift our perspective to see it from the higher level so that
you're
we
judging
can see
it as
them.
pain. You're judging it as pain, and what you're
Right.
supposed to do is not judge other people's dilemmas or situation. You're just supposed to respect that their soul is going through that because their soul has picked that.
If I could just say something, what helps me with this sort of thing, I imagine like the painful moments that I've had in my past, and I know without a doubt that those benefited me in such a powerful way. So when I see that other people are going through a painful moment in time, I know through my experience that they are also going to benefit hugely of it, and also take that path for themselves.
Yeah, that's a great way to view it.
That is a great
Because
way.
without the negative emotions, you wouldn't be on the spiritual path, probably. I was looking back, I think some of the biggest pain I felt was in 2008. I went through a divorce. I had 3 children that moved out. And quickly after that, I retired from work. And it was like, I just didn't have it. I had no idea who I was. And I was just running around thinking, wow, this is, like the whole life I planned kind of dissolved very quickly in a short time frame. So without that, there are many things I wouldn't be doing today, like I
And
might not be sitting right here at this very
and
moment.
and to tie it back to the topic of oneness, when you think about it, since we're all from the original spark of source, the very fact that they are living that life of which you are judging to be painful or whatever, they are doing that for your benefit, because ultimately we're all one. So they have incarnated into a very, what you call, rough life, and they're living it out because their soul has played it out. But ultimately, you are reaping the benefits from it because we're all one. So in some ways, when you see someone having a very difficult life, you give gratitude to them because they're going through, what we're judging as the harshness of it, but we're going to get the benefits of it because they're living that experience. But ultimately, we're all one, and we're all going to receive that data point of what the experience is to live that harsh life. So when you see someone in war, when you see someone has medical illness or someone who's homeless, deep down in your gut, you got to know that we're all one, and have gratitude for them because they're living that harsh life, but you're going to get the data. Your higher self is going to get the data point of what it's like. So in some ways, you don't need to experience that because part of your higher self is getting that data point.
That's a really good point.
I think that too. Sometimes I'll think, like you said, be grateful for what they're going through, to pave that pathway to have that experience that has never been had before. Because even if it's the same experience, it's from their perspective. And I like to play around with stuff like that. And then I think about that, but then I have to stop when I get to the point of, okay, wait, I'm having gratitude for doing something that doesn't sound like fun to me and I don't want to do. And then that turns into the judging. So then it's like, no, back it up. Wait a minute. It's like, as I kind of go down one road, then it's like, oh, wait. But then that's also the duality of everything, which I have fun with. Just sitting there sometimes thinking about things like that. Like I'll go down the gratitude road and then sometimes it'll like flip into, I'm grateful because, but in a way, gratitude has kind of a piece of lack or need. Like you're grateful for something because it gave you relief or fulfilled a need or something like that. And if you go too far down that road, then you're back into the judging it is wrong and I don't want that. And I'm grateful you're doing it instead of me. So I don't know. It's sometimes I get all in my head playing with all that stuff, but
sometimes I think like, I know what you're saying about getting to, what is it? Joanne. Hi, Joanne.
Oh, Joanne. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
It's so small on my iPhone.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I do get to that point where you said there's like that fork in the road where you kind of go into the, judging part. I sort of, it's less common that I do that now. And I actually think about how I honor that person for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's
Yes.
where you back up and go, no, that feels better.
Yeah. It really does.
That's exactly what I focus on too, because I'm like,
Mhm.
they are not a victim, they are a creator.
Mhm.
And that's probably the biggest way that I find to understand oneness in the moment is remembering that they are not a victim. They have created this, even though they may not know it, they have created this. But then that also just brought up a question in my head is living in the world that we do, we see everyone as creators, but they don't come from that standpoint. So how do you deal with the possibility of this being seen or thought of as heartless because you're not rolling with them in the in the depths of despair and allowing them to, to be, you're not allowing yourself to be low perspective like them, put it in Joshua terms.
But that goes back to the general thing that you don't let the outside world affect you. Let them judge you as heartless because that's the outside world. you got to come from inside, and inside, you know, you're not heartless. You're contrary. You're all about love. So you don't let the outside world affect you. And, you know, that's how I handle it, is I just bring myself back to reminding me what I am inside, and try not to let the outside world, even if that's people judging me, impact my inside, because it's my inside that affects the outside.
All this because I'm about to go on my first real family outing this coming weekend, like
Yeah.
away from the house. I'm flying from Phoenix to Charleston, and I'll be with my in-laws for like 4 days, and they're very, very conservative.
Yeah. Well, they're going to push your button, but the way I think of it this way is that you made pre-life plan to incarnate into your body with your family, and your soul has made a pact with their soul for them to come down and push your buttons, because your soul planned that. Your soul knows where you are right now, and it knows that in order to stimulate and push you forward, you're going to need motivation, and some of that motivation is people prodding you in ways that you don't like. And that's where you give thanks to your brothers and sisters when they bitch at you and prod at you, because they're actually doing it from the soul level as a favor to you, to show you who you are.
You're on speed dial, Daryl.
Well, they're going to
Yeah.
show you a lot of your limiting beliefs and stuff, but in dealing with family members, I have realized the benefits of going for walks and going and just meditating for a while, and you know, reminding myself that, you know, it only affects me if I let it, and to realize that it's only a couple more days. So, you know, it is a limited time. So maybe that'll help you.
Oh, Pam, it helps me to view people as children. It's like,
Oh,
you know, like when my sister or someone I'm with who's, you know, none of the people that I interact with are in Joshua or on the spiritual path like me. So what I do is I often look at them, you know, like a loving child. And I say, oh, how would I treat this person? You know, and one of the biggest things my grandmother used to say is treat other people how you want to be treated. And the more that you can do that, the more they will treat you with love. And, you know, like one of the exercises in the foundation this week was, have you done something nice for someone lately? Well, I had a few manifestation events during this time. They weren't huge, but there were just a couple of things going on. And anyway, like my brother-in-law, he was sick and he's an alcoholic, and he had to go to the hospital, and I took him. And it was because I'm the one who's neutral about going to the hospital, and his brother couldn't take him. And then I suggested that he go to rehab, and they were making silly limiting belief excuses. I made him an appointment. I took him to the interview. He's driving up to the interview and he's like, I have to go to prison. Well, you know, rehab is not prison, but anyway, I was the only one who could be neutral in the situation. So he hugs me and thanks me for taking him to rehab. Now, how many people can say they experienced that? So when I'm looking at him, I look at him through angel eyes, is what way I call it. And I see this little boy that's just in this body, you know, and yes, he's going through the struggle. And I don't have to suffer or be upset or angry. What I can do is just be, you know, just treat him. I pretend that I'm a child and he's a child and we're just playing. So we go have lunch and we have fun, and we make it a fun little adventure. So you can really shift your thoughts that way. And I don't know why that's helpful for me, but it is. It's like how would I want to be treated if I were him? And he, he needs really support. So I had to do something nice for someone. I wasn't paid to do it. I just did it out of love. And when he was sitting there and he was crying when he went through his interview, and he looked at me, and he just, he is really sad and going through a lot. And I just reached over and touched him and said, we love you. That's all I had to say. So, anybody else had taken him, he might have had an argument with them. But, because I'm pretending he's a little kid, and I'm just sitting with a little kid who's not, because really adults who haven't dealt with their emotions are just little kids. That's my experience. And so, if I can view people that way, it helps me to do the things, because part of oneness is helping people when they ask you for help, but it's not shoving your ideas down their throat. It's like, hey, I see you need help, and I'm here. What can I do? You got to ask them what is it you need. So that's one way that helps me get into the idea of oneness.
I like that, Tami.
Yeah, me too.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And Pam, I want to share an aha moment I had with Christy's coaching session this week. Remember when there was that discussion about how the person in front of you is a reflection of you? And then the big aha moment I had is that every single time I got off the telephone with my sister, I used to go, I'm a real bitch. If she's a reflection of me, then it's like, part of me is just a real bitch, And then the aha moment I had from Christy when she's saying that, no, that's not the reflection. It's not that you're a bitch. It's that it's just reflecting a negative limitation of you. So I thought that was a very interesting thing because I throughout all the readings, I was thinking that the person is reflecting a trait of me. That person was really cheat and stingy. I was thinking, oh, it's showing me on the side of me that's cheat and stingy. But that's not the goal of the exercise. The goal of the exercise is to realize that that cheat and stingy person or family member is showing me a limiting belief, but it doesn't have to deal with being cheat and stingy.
Right. I thought that was a really good point, Daryl. I mean,
yeah.
When you get,
I was shocked by it because I was thinking all the time, oh, I'm a real bitch, I guess. Every time I talk to my sister.
Yeah, I'm going through, I just started, today's the first day of, I'm doing the Extension Experience courses. And right now I'm in the romantic relationships one. And it's so funny because I deliberately skipped over this one in the process because I just didn't think I needed it, even though my relationship with my husband is in shambles. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this one. I don't need a romantic relationship. And so I ended up going to the QLT, the second QLT session, and I was talking to Christy, and she's like, you realize then that is the one you need, right?
right?
Like, fine. So we got done with foundations, actually, and I was like, and something was like, okay, it's time. It's time. And Tami, you'll get a kick out of this because I have been doing the artist way the last 2 weeks. And so I've been doing the daily pages, which is basically write 3 full pages of just straight, train of thought writing. And a couple of days ago, I wrote in those daily pages, okay, ever since the retreat, you have put a Band-Aid on this relationship. It is time to peel off the Band-Aid and deal with it. So I'm like, okay, fine. So he's going, I've decided that my relationship with my husband is going to be the kicker when it comes to truly understanding oneness. So I'm like, if I can feel oneness with him, then it's going to be with everyone.
Yeah, I went through the ascension exercises and it was really strange when I got to the family and relationship one. I cried every day. Like and I remember asking one of the questions like, okay, Gary, I'm just breezing through every one of these classes. But it was just because I had a lot of pent up emotions about things, and a lot of our beliefs are formed when we're very young, and we're not like taught how to deal with our emotions. And so I would just kind of, well, my mother was passive aggressive and my father, I don't know what he was, but anyway, they were both lovely people, but they both had they got married very young. They were both very emotional people at times. And, I always thought of myself one way, but I didn't realize I was creating all this drama, and that was it. That was where the emotions and the exercises in that part was what really triggered me a lot in life, or thinking that people not understanding I was the one generating all my emotions. It's not the outside people. It's not Daryl or Kim creating love in me. It's not my romantic partner or my mother who is deceased or my father. It's me. It's all me. I'm the one that feels the love or the hate or the judgment. I'm the one that feels every emotion. And it got me to that place, And so the difficult classes that you take are going to be the best ones. You're going to make the most progress, but you might have some tears.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
already
call
had a
that.
slight epiphany today because I was journaling and I had started the first week lesson and what have you, which it says, okay, describe how you were at the beginning of the relationship, describe your mate at the beginning of the relationship, describe how you are now, describe how he is now, and what were your expectations, and yada yada yada. And so I got it this morning, was journaling. And my biggest thing is my father was very volatile. He would have these outbursts, and it wasn't the best of childhoods, and he was a single father. But I realized while I was journaling that I equated emotions to not have, if they didn't have any logical reasoning to them. And so my husband is completely different. He's very logical, very linear. I wanted stability, security, something to be able to control. And that he is everything from that standpoint. And so now when my husband and I get into arguments, I come from a feeling standpoint. But because I associate that with illogical, not being able to explain why I feel that, I equate that as being bad. Whereas he is the complete opposite. So I give him more credibility than myself. And it was a fascinating journey in my journal from going to that, because from that, I then was like, wait a minute, this is a feeling reality. The only thing he is doing is feeling, even though he doesn't know it, even though he calls it logical reasoning, he's actually feeling and then interpreting that based on his own beliefs and limitations of what it should be like. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, Tami, I think this is going to be a fascinating
And what
next
I
4 weeks for
realized,
me.
all those ascension classes, what I realized through them and the foundation was that I was creating all the feelings. It really doesn't matter what anybody else does. And you are getting an automatic karma if you're, one of my go-to emotions, and I'll say I kind of learned that from my mother. She was passive and aggressive. She would be very, very sweet and loving all the time. And then all of a sudden, she would just go ballistic. And both of my parents had tempers like that, both of them. So I learned to be a fighter, to fight against. And anger was one of my go-to emotions. So if I'm in an argument with somebody, I'm just going to really get pissed off, you know. And who does that help, Pam? I mean, nobody. And people look at me would never know that. And sometimes I was keeping it inside, you know, and not expressing myself until I was just really out of control and mad. You know, it would have been better to say, hey, I don't like you doing that, than it would have been jumping up and down and screaming and pointing fingers. And that's what people do is, you know, they don't let it out. And there's lots of ways to let your emotions out, but you don't even have to say words sometimes. But, you know, when I was younger, I was much more aggressive, I would say. But the older I got, I don't argue with people anymore. I can't tell you the last argument I had with my roommate was he told me that life was going to get worse and worse. And I said life was getting better every day. That was our argument.
Fun.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, is it? You know, so, you know, I've always been accused of being too optimistic. So I'll take that. Hallelujah. So my arguments are much more different, you know. And when people try to trigger me, because, you know, people you love know your triggers. You know, like Kim's lived with beautiful Joe forever.
Just about.
Kim, how does Joe trigger you? It's the same silly stuff, probably.
Oh, over and over. Well, you know, what's funny. I don't feel as triggered. Like, I know that I really expanded in my relationship because I laugh at his responses because he's very, like, he's Portuguese. So he goes from, like, everything is very dramatic and he just gets like pissed off fast and everything. And I used to be like, why do you have to be that way? Can't you just be calm? Can't you just communicate? You know, I was always being a victim. Now I just laugh at him because I think it's so funny. And then he laughs too. Say something happened tonight. And you know, he was upset with me and he was like kind of acted like he was really angry. And I just said, really? And I laughed so hard and he couldn't help it. He laughed back. But the lady at Petco yesterday, I told to fuck off. I had a manifestation event yesterday at Petco because I was just a little background. My mother went to the hospital, right? And while she was in the hospital, my mother's 94, she got COVID. So she's very weak. And so I have an Alexa that I can keep an eye on her, right? She's not supposed to get up. I told her to stay in the chair while I was gone. While I was gone, I looked and she wasn't in the chair. And I kept looking and she still wasn't in the chair. And I got really nervous. So then I'd had a coffee and we ran a few errands. I go to Petco and I went to the bathroom and the employee said I couldn't use the bathroom. And I turned around and I went, fuck off. I was really so pissed off. I couldn't believe I stormed out of the store and I was like, this is not a human. This is inhumane to not have bathrooms for the employee. I was all on a righteous bent, but it was really funny because today I feel totally zen. So anyway, just to tell you about my manifestation event yesterday.
They
But
never
then
stop.
send her love.
They never stop. You know what I mean?
I know they don't. But it's like
They don't.
it's like short, intense, and then I go, okay. And I get myself back into alignment. So it's not anything I carry on for, although she's probably like
this
so
is
mad.
another example of oneness. I was noticing yesterday a couple of people were complaining about this person that works in this store in a small town where I live, and you know how rude she is. Well, there are two people there that are rude that I know of, but when I went in today, I ended up in that line, and she just has this one. I used to work with this girl. She has this frown. It's like a snarl. Like every time you look at her. But when I go in, she smiles at me. Hey, Tami.
That's cute.
Awesome.
Then when I was the other lady, I was in her line, and she just has this she's got this giant tattoo that says strong on it. And she doesn't smile. It's like, I mean, it's like she's just got this growl on her face, you know. So I looked at, I said, how do you pronounce your name? I was like asking her questions. She told me how to say her name. And she said, when I left, she kind of halfway cracked a smile, and she said, I told her, have a great day. And she said, I hope you have a great day too. But everybody's complaining about her on Facebook. And I'm like, I got the girl today. I mean, it's like whatever you focus on just kind of pops up in your reality. But for me, I made it a game. Like, I'm going to make this a game. I'm going to go in and I'm going to, like, I wasn't looking for her, but when I got in front of her, I was like, oh, I got her. Here she is.
That's awesome.
Woman.
I do that too. I'll be the person that everybody like, no, none of the coworkers like this person, and they'll be like, you go talk to her. It's always nice to you. And it's like, well, just because I focus on the good things about her. Sometimes I can only find two, but everybody else.
I try to learn their name,
so,
like a store clerk. I try to learn their name. I mean, it's not like I want to chat with them or anything, but I want to like say hello and you know, notice who they are. But whenever then when I looked at her arm and it was like strong, like that's her, you know, that's her identity is to be strong. So, you know, it's a powerful identity, and that's how she brings it across. But, you know, not like, I mean, she, you know, I'm her. According, I think it was Neil Donald Walsh that I read. You know, he had an epiphany one morning when he was writing to himself, and God came in, and he said, he walked around all day saying, I'm that, and I'm that, and I'm that, and I'm that. Like it's just suddenly came on him, and he had a huge epiphany about the oneness and understanding, you know, how connected we all are. So I think if you have a high perspective of, and you get what you expect in life, you know, if you expect the people to treat you well, then they're gonna treat you well and smile at them. I don't care if they're frowning. I've had people cuss me out in jobs, and I just look at them and laugh. They don't know what to say when you do that. They don't know what to say.
The way to think of it is that oneness is actually the final point. Everything leads to oneness. When you think about it, all the problems that you have described or other people have witnessed, the problem with it can be solved if they understand we're all one. No matter what the manifestation is, if you wanted to, you can just cut to the bottom line. The bottom line is once you understand we're all one, everything, all the problems in your life, in your neighbor's life, in the other country, in this world goes away. All the problems that are caused in this world is because of not understanding oneness. If we understood that we are all one, there wouldn't be a war against another country. If you understand that we're all one, you wouldn't be upset that your dog, you know, ate your slippers. If you understand that we're all one, when you get into a fight with your brother or sister, you know that, well, we're all one, you know. So at the end of the day, if you know that we're all one, that answers everything. That is the last answer. That, you know, we are one and love. I should stick in love there, but that's the end roll answer to everything and all the matters. If you believe, if you understand that, you will never ever have any problems again in your life. I mean, if you understood that 100% with no wobble, then anything that happens around you, to you, it's answered, because the answer is we're all one.
That's true, Daryl.
It's
God,
yeah,
it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple.
correct, but it's so hard. But
When you
the truest things are the most simplest things that can be applied for everything, and that's the simplest thing, and it can be applied toward everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, it takes a while to seep in. If you want to read Paul Selig's books, who channels the guides, that's what he's written 10 books on. Is basically that we're all one, and the problems with this world is that when we don't know we're all one, that's where all the problems come. It's when we believe in separation. That's what causes the problems. But the minute that we all wake up and we all realize that we're one, all of those problems go away. You would not need to hoard from your neighbor if you knew that we were all one. You would not need to hurt someone else if you know that we're all one because you're hurting yourself. You would not need to have a war with another country because you know that country is you and we're all one. All the problems in this world stem from separation or the belief in separation. Once we have the knowledge that we're all one, all the problems go away.
Yeah, the woman at Petco, if she knew we were on, she would have let me use the bathroom.
That's what I'm talking about, Kim.
Correct.
Really?
Correct.
Yeah.
If we knew that we were all one, we would not be chopping down trees that we don't need to chop down, because the tree are us too. When I say we are all one, I'm including not just humans, but everything around you is made from the same essence of original source. So the tree behind me, we're all one with that too. So you treat it with the respect of knowing that that's you too. And the same essence as you. It's not to say that I'm not gonna eat the fruit or eat because that's what it's for. But then you do it with respect of knowing that you're not going to be wasting it. You do it with the respect of understanding that's you too, and you use it with love and understanding and respect that it's you. Would you be wasting you? Would you be cutting you down needlessly unless you had to? No, you understand that everything is one. Everything is you. We're all one.
That actually reminds me, one of the things, because I actually just started reading Paul Selig. Is that how you say his name?
Oh yeah, he's great. He's coming out with his new book tomorrow.
I was just about to say, I just started reading Resurrection, and so that's the first book to the book that he's about to come out with. And one of the things in there that he said, oh my Lord, I just lost it. That you were just saying, oh, I can't remember. Maybe it'll come back to me. Carry on.
Yeah. No, it's all that we're all one, and you treat everything with the respect and understanding that we're all one. And once you do that, all of your problems go away, and you won't be wasting resources, because the resources are you. You wouldn't be hurting people because the people are you. You wouldn't be attacking another country because the other country is you.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Having a worldview is like, for me, we're all humans. Every person.
But if you want to take that one more step, we're also ETs, right? If there are ETs visiting us,
I'm
we
saying
are
on
them
this,
too.
in this 3D reality, we're all humans on this planet. There's only one race. I mean, there's only one thing here, and that's the human race. Although, the unseen world is here as well. We just can't see through it. However, but I'm saying, like you're saying, if there, the problems of war and violence and things like that could be solved easy. You don't even have to go as deep as oneness. You can say we're all here on this planet, traveling through space, and that would solve a lot of our earthly problems.
I remember now what I had read in Paul Selig's book was that, if I am God and you are God, but for whatever reason, if I judge you or I consider you wrong or what have you, I'm actually denying God in you. So if I'm denying God in you, but we're all God, then I'm therefore denying myself, which again, I understand conceptually, but it definitely resonated in the fact that if I judge someone, it's denying the God in them.
So I'm going to take that a step further and understand that the person who commits mass murder, who kills a lot of people, they are God too. They are original source too, but they are original source forgetting that they're God. That's why they kill other people. If they remember that they were original source and God, they would not be killing people. But because they believe in separation or don't know that we're all one, that's what causes them to kill people.
Question that I've been trying to mull over in my head when it comes to situations like that. It's definitely one of those things where I'm like, okay, that's over there, and I don't even want to think about it. Is it better to do that, you think? Or is it better to actually meet it head on and say, I love you, I see the God in you, I understand what you are, even if I don't enjoy it, you know?
It's better to do what we said originally, is that you see it and you respect it, that they're having their own incarnation in their life, that their soul is big, and you don't prejudge it. You're aware that's around you, but you don't prejudge it, meaning that, okay, their soul is having a war in Ukraine. I respect that, and I'm not going to fly over to Ukraine because I don't need to have that in my world. But I respect that all those souls are playing out war there, and that's what their soul has divinely designed, and you just respect that. Same thing with the homeless person off the street who came yelling at me and say, "You're going to kill me." I'm just going to understand that that homeless person is having the life that hit their soul and they're living their life, and I'm just going to respect that, and I'm going to go my way and not let it interact with, bump into my bubble too much. I'm going to respect that that homeless person has their soul pre-planned their life, and I'm going to respect and let them pre-plan and live their life. It's a hard one. It took me a while to, not get mad at that homeless person who's really, but it's like, let's be consistent and implement what I've learned. And what I learned is, don't let the outside world impact you, and just, respect their soul for having that life and let them be.
So since the Joshua materials, have you guys found that how do I ask this? Like your lives have become lighter in some way? For example, I guess mine has become lighter in the sense that I don't actively seek out drama. Like, I don't watch the news anymore. I don't pay attention to politics, which is going to make it really interesting this weekend when they get into politics, because that's like the basis of whatever they do. But anyway, but I don't seek out those things. So I feel like there's less drama from those standpoint. And I don't know if it's because of how I've raised my vibration, or if I've actively just have taken myself out of that. Has anybody else had an experience similar or thoughts?
Yeah.
I have, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to be very
Oh.
political, very. And
Yeah, me too. It was always,
I always voted.
make your point and trying to, well, this is why I'm right. This is why you should think what I think. And now I'm
But,
just like,
I softened that a long time
Yeah.
ago,
Mhm.
and people, it was like they drew side. I've always kind of been a Democrat, and my other family members were all Republicans. They would say things like, they would just bring up Donald Trump a lot or whatever. Well, my opinion of him is I vote based on my feelings, and always have. So I don't always vote one way. I may vote on either side. But it's hilarious to me now, and I don't watch a lot of news. But every now and then I'll watch a YouTube video or something, or a clip. So my opinion of him was that he was, a crook and sort of a not a nice guy, but it was based on watching his television show. And I thought, he's just an actor. And he was using neuralistic programming to program his audience. So most of the people voting for him were not extremely intelligent, is how I felt about it 4 or 5 years ago. So I can remember one of my nephews, they would sort of attack me. And I said, so I just made up a joke. Well, I don't vote for orange people. Well, it's hard to offend anybody because I don't know anybody who's orange. But I was a social worker, and I just, I just leaned more toward women's rights and things like that. So all of my political views were based on how I felt about the things that they were voting on, and it's funny to me, like one of the items in the news this week is this Boebert lady, and I don't know if you've seen it, but anyway, it's like all over the internet. She is like this very, very strict conservative person, and she's always getting up about all these rights. Well, anyway, she's gone through a divorce, and she was in this movie theater vaping, and her and her partner were fondling each other. Well, to me, it's kind of funny. Like, I'm not like trying to judge her or anything, but she's being very judged by, they're calling her a bimbo and all this stuff. And, but she's up screaming about Jesus one day and all these conservative things. So the truth is coming out about all these people, and politicians are just humans, and they have, good and bad qualities, so now I think even in one of the lessons we had to, like in the Ascension and in the foundation, we had to take the side of the opposite side of the so I had to lean into loving Trump, and I had to lean into all these things. They're really good though, because especially if there's something you don't like about a person, you can really lean into, oh well, what is it? Or you might tend to focus on the things you don't like in your life or in your world, but those things you're focusing on are what you're creating. So you really need to focus on, if the news makes you angry, if you can laugh at it, that's fine. And I interviewed somebody recently.
I want to quickly share a story because oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, I interviewed somebody recently, and it was funny. He's like, yeah, I just watch it for entertainment now, but I don't have any extreme emotions about it, So
this was actually my topic that Gary highlighted for me at QOT. When he picks out his book and he picks a thing that you're gonna. This was the top. I'm a political hack throughout my whole life, and I love watching the news. So I went back and forth with him on this, and he basically said, turn off the news, because what you give your attention to is what you give your power to, and then I tried to fight him. I said, okay, with that understanding, I am giving my attention to justice right now. He is getting hell right now in justice, and that's making me happy. So that's bringing out the higher part of me, and he saw through that. He said, no, you're not supposed to do that. We're all one, and you're not supposed to be wishing ill for anyone, even though he did say he's a fucking asshole. But he was true to his preaching. He said, look, it's not a good idea to watch the news. Turn it off. And just understand that we're all one. When it comes to someone like Trump, adopt the same philosophy. They are here to live out their soul's plan and to play a role. And that role is going to ultimately raise the consciousness of people in the United States and other countries. So just let it be. But you don't need to be turning into the news, because that's ultimate. It's designed for negative energy. So
it is.
It's
all about fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Daryl, I was going to ask you if you thought Trump was reptilian.
I think he in so this is the concept. He is a light worker in that a light worker is here to make change. Now, I would say that he is one of the few people on the earth that's making the most drastic change, but it's not out of his ego having good intentions. He is making drastic change because he's ripping everything apart. He's destroying everything he touches, but thankfully everything he's destroying needs to be shown, needs to be come to the surface. I mean, I'm going to quickly say, Paul Selig says that he says that we're in an era right now where you got to think of it as pus, that all the things that are on the surface, below, that was always there, corroding and stuff like that, now it's coming to the surface and being seen, and that is causing a big pus. But the pus is good because it's only after the pus grows and sticky and poopy and stinky and it pops, that's how you heal and grow stronger. So that's what you need to look at today and the past 4 years, is that it's all pus that's icky and sticky, but it's needed so that it can pop and for us to heal. So I think of Trump as pus.
Orange.
Orange pus.
Yeah. That's needed.
Pimple doctor.
Yeah. It's needed for us to heal. I mean, I got.
Yeah, I think of it as chaos.
A prettier way to say it is that the world is a beautiful oyster, and Trump is the irritant that eventually causes the beautiful pearl.
The duality,
Yeah.
to all, I mean, when people go to the extreme and talk about Hitler, it's like all these horrible things, but yet all the love that came out of the worse
And
it
the
gets,
growth.
the better it gets. So the
Yeah.
more evil is out there, then the more love and healing and compassion there is. So it's, and
Yeah.
in a world of duality, somebody has to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we forget it.
Yeah, I saw a lot of, like women step up after Trump tried to, or whatever he was doing, white males, whatever. What I saw, right after all that happened, he came into office, there was a lot of pushback, but there were more women in politics than ever. If that's your calling, that's great. And, I mean, like I've always voted and, but I used to watch the news a lot, but really probably the last 10 years, I haven't really watched the news very often, but I would follow, or, every now and then a video will pop up on my YouTube and it's usually something funny. And it is attacking one side or the other. And it doesn't show both sides. They're all very singular in their views. So
mark my words, by next year, the pus will have popped and you'll see that we're on the road for healing. Mark my words, by the end of next year, I guarantee you will all understand that the pus has popped and we're on the road to healing. You can hold me to that.
I'm gonna giggle every time you say pus now. So.
Be
I read or heard somewhere that everything that was fake is going to fall away in the next 5 years.
Correct.
And, and it's funny to me. I mean, that's with the internet and all these videos, people the truth really does surface. It's hard to hide. And they're all pretending they're just playing a game. It's just their game they came to play.
Yeah. I mean, and you understand that dirt and corruption has always been there. It's been there for years, for decades, and for centuries. It's just now that it's coming to the surface, but it's always been there. Now is the time that it's coming to the surface, so that's what causes the
And
pus.
it is on both sides now. I
Correct,
mean,
correct.
they're all the parties are having meltdowns, and
Correct.
why? It's a big country, and I can't imagine why anyone would want to be the president. Like, he still wants to be the president after all this chaos. Like, what? Okay. Like you couldn't give me that job. I wouldn't take that
Yeah,
job
heck
for
no.
anything. I'd be like, oh,
Sure.
hell no.
I always go back to the, you have everything you need when you need it. And when I'm in my best vibration possible, when I'm doing pretty well, I just think I don't have to worry about all that. I will know what I need to know to make whatever decision I need to make. Whether it's because my husband will tell me, or I will read it somewhere, or I will be standing in line and I'll overhear somebody say something, but I don't have to sit and focus and dwell and pick it apart and research everything to death on whether it's the news or anything. It's just like, I try to just think, okay, I just need to be inspired to take the next step. And sometimes it might be to watch something on TV, sometimes, but usually not. Or like I said, somehow I will overhear the information, or it will come to me in some way to make whatever decision I need to make. And even if somebody that I think is evil is in office, if I have my high vibration, that's not going to affect me. It's not, I don't have to live in fear. Oh my gosh, that person got elected. Now everything, which is what I used to think. Oh
listen,
my gosh, everything's falling apart.
I was in the sauna the other day. This was about a month ago. I was in the sauna. So there were 3 of us that left the yoga class, and we were in the sauna, and there was this young boy. He was telling us how horrible life was because the current president's in office. He was blaming it all on and I said, oh, well, I said, I've been through a lot of presidents. I said, you know what? It doesn't really matter who it is. Fine every single time.
Yeah. Exactly. There's good and bad.
I'm not suffering now. And the guy was sitting over there. He's like, me neither. Like, but the young guy was suffering because there's a certain party. So, it really is just how you view it. So if you're running around looking for things to suffer about and be upset about, and the news is really great helping you with that. And conspiracy theories. I mean, but
you'll run across them
people
all the time if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, you'll find them everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
I gotta jump off, but I just want to say, please enjoy the pus and just know that what it is, and know that it's gonna be better very soon. So the end of the
start
story,
putting pictures up of this,
appreciate the
Daryl.
pus. All right, have a really great night.
Hey, I gotta go too. It was
Okay,
really
yeah.
I got gymnastics. Bye, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great seeing
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Yeah.